Hey, it's the Inked Anarchist coming at you with a very special topic today. We're going to talk about dogs. Dogs and bludgies. That's what we're going to talk about today. Oh, and also pot. So there's that. If you are unfamiliar with what's going on in Illinois right now, basically legalization is on the horizon. And this is pretty cool. This is really good news for the people of Illinois, but the police, understandably, not such a big fan. Now, the reasons are mostly financial, let's be honest. What they're doing now is declaring that if we legalize marijuana, we're going to have to kill our dogs. Won't somebody think of the puppies? Now, you may be wondering, if you're going to have to kill their dogs, I think you have to kill their dogs. Well, see, if you track the history of marijuana legalization, initially they said, well, it's a gateway drug. Regardless of how you feel about how bad it is, it's still going to open up, cocaine and heroin, these things that we totally use in the medical profession now already. But it's going to open up that, and then it's going to, you're going to have also all this crime, and it's going to drive people of color insane, reefer madness, man, right? And that was the arguments. Well, so then things start getting debunked. We should demonstrate scientifically that it's not a gateway drug. In fact, alcohol tends to be the gateway drug. We demonstrate that it's a completely racist, insane thing to say that it drives people of color crazy. That obviously isn't the case. We demonstrate that it's not, really all that harmful. It's not addictive. It has a ton of medical benefits potentially by its use. It can reduce opioid addiction. It can do all these other great things. And so now all of their arguments have just been completely and totally destroyed. They have very, very little to justify their war on marijuana. And what we've seen over and over again to this point historically, everywhere that has actually legalized marijuana, is that we've seen that they have had to reduce their police forces, because the bottom line is the majority of the law enforcement that they're doing is actually extorting people for a plant. It's putting people in cages for a plant. That's what they're doing. And so the police department in Illinois, the various police departments, are now terrified that all of a sudden they're going to lose all their funding. Not only that, but they're going to lose access to that great little government program where they get all this really cool assault gear and armored vehicles and things, right? And that scares them. So now they need to come up with something to justify why you can't legalize marijuana. You still can't have that plant because something bad will happen. And they can't blame it on the plant directly anymore. So now they have to go to the one thing they have left. And what do they have left? If you don't give us what we want, we're going to kill all of our dogs. That's right, you terrible, terrible people. If you want a plant, a natural plant, that we say you shouldn't have based on literally nothing, we'll have to just kill our dogs. Well, strictly speaking, that's not what they're saying. They're saying that they're going to have to euthanize their dogs. Not actually going to shoot them, one would hope, although it is police, so can't be entirely sure. But they are saying that they're going to have to euthanize their dogs, and there's a few reasons why they're saying that. One is obviously, and I think this is an important point to consider, is they're saying that if you legalize marijuana, their drug sniffing dogs are basically going to be useless. They can't be used as drug sniffing dogs. Now, what I think is incredibly interesting about that is that, again, what that means. Think about this objectively, okay? What this means is that they are saying that they are so committed to the destruction of people who own a plant that they have invested hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in generation after generation of trained canines that they call drug sniffing dogs that aren't actually for drug sniffing. They are for plant sniffing, one specific plant. one that's legal in a bunch of states already. They've dedicated a significant portion of their budgets, of their training, of the training of their animals, of these animals, the care for these animals, all this money and all this time and effort just into marijuana. So when we say end the drug war, and then all these conservatives in particular, like, you can't end the drug war, people will be doing heroin in the streets. Well, but the drug war isn't really about heroin right now, is it? Clearly, based on everything that we've seen, we saw it in Colorado, right? We saw in Colorado where they legalized marijuana, and then all of a sudden they have to basically let go of half of their police force. They have to start ditching budgets for the police because their police have nothing to do with their day because they're not chasing anybody with a plant anymore. It's not about the hard drugs, and it's never been about the hard drugs. It's about marijuana, and it's always been about marijuana. And it's not about marijuana because marijuana is dangerous, and it's not about marijuana because marijuana is a gateway drug. It's about marijuana because with marijuana, you have threats to big pharma, you have threats to big oil, you have threats to the lumber industry, you have all these threats to all these huge special interests that are contributing millions, if not billions of dollars to various political ideologies that are supporting them. They're contributing tons to political campaigns, to propaganda campaigns, all these other things. So you're threatening a lot of money with marijuana, and that is why they're scared of marijuana legalization. But that's neither here nor there. What's important is what they're doing is they are holding a bunch of German shepherds hostage under threat of execution if you legalize the possession of a plant. That is what they're doing. That is how insane these people are. They're going, well, we're just going to have to kill the dogs. Rather than saying, well, we can work on retraining them and things. And they need to be retrained. Because police canines are intentionally unsocialized. They're intentionally aggressive to everyone but their own handlers to make them as effective as possible at responding to when they're called on without distraction. Now, I don't say sniffing out drugs because that is not what drug dogs are for. Drug dogs are to justify the police tearing apart your cars and your homes to search for drugs. Because statistically, it's been demonstrated over and over and over again that as much as 95% of the time, a drug-sniffing dog will in fact alert based on its owner's indications and its desire for the owner to be pleased with it, because that's what we bred dogs for, right? We bred dogs to please us. So most of the time what we're seeing is that they are hitting on things that aren't even there because the owners want them to hit, because the owners think that it's there. In fact, we just saw that. If you didn't see the video, definitely check it out. But we just saw that with a video where a drug-sniffing dog was doing its job correctly. It didn't smell any drugs, so it didn't hit. And so in response, the cop, whose entire job it revolves around taking care of this poor animal that depends on him for everything, that just wants to please him, he grabs it by the leash and chokes it and yells at it and just about kicks it because it didn't hit, because there weren't drugs there. Now, if that's the kind of treatment that that dog gets when it decides that it's doing its job and there aren't drugs here and so there's nothing for me to alert on, but it gets that treatment when it doesn't hit, and then it gets treats and it gets praise and it gets attention and love when it does hit, the dog's going to go, oh, my owner actually doesn't care about whether or not there are drugs. It just wants me to do this. And so that's what it'll start doing. And anyone who knows anything about dogs is going to tell you that's exactly what's going to happen. So what we're seeing with these drug dogs is they're already basically useless anyway, but they're also aggressive. They're dangerous, just like their owners. They're incredibly dangerous. And so they don't want to put them in the general pet population. Now, I think that's completely absurd. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge advocate for pit bulls. I've had a number of pit bulls. They've been some of the sweetest, gentlest, most amazing, wonderful dogs you can possibly imagine. Now, I know that there are tons of pit bulls out there. For a fact, I know this, who were fighting dogs. Were trained to be aggressive, trained to be nasty. And yet, they can be trained to be integrated to houses with babies, and they protect the babies. They're the gentlest animals in the world if you teach them to be. So, what they're basically saying is, my police German Shepherd doesn't have the mental capacity of a pit bull that belonged to a gangbanger at some point in its life. Also, my entire job revolves around pulling people over and arresting them for plants. And I value the ability to make money by throwing people with a plant in a cage more than I do the life of another being. That is what they're saying. They're saying, give me what I want, or I will kill these innocent animals, hoping that that gamble tugs at enough heartstrings of people who are advocating for the legalization of marijuana that the people will all pull back from that. Now, I encourage everybody who's in Illinois, anybody who's in Illinois who has the ability to vote on this, vote yes. Legalize. Legalize the marijuana. Worst case scenario, those dogs die. You know what? All dogs go to heaven, right? And heck, wasn't the main character in that a German Shepherd to begin with? So realistically, no big deal. But more importantly, if they decide to slaughter all of those dogs, they've set themselves up as the bad guys going forward in a whole bunch more eyes than the people who see them for what they really are already. And that's a step in the right direction in multiple ways at that point. Now, do I not care about the dogs? Of course I care about the dogs. I don't want to see the dogs get hurt. But I also recognize that police have a tendency to kill dogs. It's not like this is the first time they've ever killed a dog. There's a great documentary out there called Puppycide that'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about. But the fact of the matter is that the police are trying to threaten and coerce you even more openly than normal through a bunch of innocent animals. And that makes them evil. Even if you don't believe that anything else does, that makes them evil. So that was all for me today. That was kind of what I wanted to cover. I wanted to go over the whole impending German Shepherd genocide in Illinois at the hands of the police willingly, and basically why ACAB. So hopefully you guys dug it. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button down there and let me know that you did. I really hope that you share with your friends. Get the word out there. I'd love to be able to get a little more popular, get the message out to a few more people. It'd be awesome. If you like the kind of videos that I'm doing, if you've checked out my old ones, or if you haven't yet, you should. And if you dig it, subscribe to me, and that would be great. That'd be really cool. So until next time, y'all have a good day, and stay free.